When I was in the first grade, and after I was done doing the task Miss Janice gave us, I started reading a book. The teacher looked at me through her thick glasses. "What are you reading? Show me." I slowly pulled out the book from my lap. "You're reading Shakespeare's sonnets?" I'm sorry, miss." "When did you learn to read this?" "When I was 4. Shakespeare is my favorite poet, and Agatha Christie is my favorite author." Miss Janet looked really surprised. She and I had so much in common, and we got closer over time. One day she said, "Why don't I walk you home today, and I can have a little chat with your parents?" I led Miss Janice to my house, and to my horror, we walked straight into one of Mom and Dad's screaming matches. "How many times do I have to tell you the same thing? It's a ketchup stain. Stop lying to me. I know that was lipstick." "Mom, Dad, we have a visitor." The two stopped short and turned to look at us. "Hi, I just wanted to talk to you about Sarah. We want to put her in the Gifted Kids program and, yeah, whatever. Anything you want me to sign before I leave?" And with that, he was out the door. I hated their fighting, but I was too happy to care for a change. He'd be back soon enough. But this time, he just didn't come back. Hi, my name is Sarah, and this is my story about how I made money being the babysitter of my own mother. Dad just disappeared, and he had even blocked our numbers. And Mom just became a depressed couch potato. I had to keep up with all my schoolwork and do all the house chores. At 14, I was already busy preparing for my SATs and applying to colleges. One day, when I was studying at home, I got a phone call that shook my world. Mom had been in a terrible car accident. I called Miss Janice and we rushed over to the hospital. The doctors told us that Mom had suffered a severe head injury and was still unconscious. A week later, Mom finally opened her eyes. The doctor came to check on her, saying everything seemed normal. When we asked her what her name was, she pouted. "It's Candace, duh." "And what day comes after Tuesday, Candace?" Mom flung a plastic cup at his forehead. "I don't know, poop face. I want my mommy." The doctor said he needed to do a brain scan. Mom kicked up such a fuss as the nurses took her away. The doctor made the most shocking discovery ever. Mom now had the brain of a 6-year-old. He said it was possible she might go back to normal, but it could also be a permanent condition. My mom had turned into an actual baby? My life just turned into a nightmare after that. I had to leave Mom at daycare before going to school. I could see all my college dreams slipping away as I dropped out of my SAT classes. I had enough on my plate right now with Mom and the housework, and boy, was she the brattiest 6-year-old ever. One day, when I just finished making dinner, I went to her room and found her busy pulling out everything from the cupboards and throwing it on the floor. "Oh my God, Mom, Candace, stop it. Who's gonna clean that up?" "Not me." And she ran out, cackling like a little witch. When I went downstairs, she was already at the dinner table. "Get your feet off the table, please." A minute later, I got hit by something on my face. Yuck. I hate broccoli. "I want Doritos." "Well, too bad. You have to eat your greens and—" "Can't hear you." And she stuck her finger in her ears and started shouting gibberish. "Fine. Put on your shoes and we'll go to the grocery store." As I paid at the store, I saw her looking at the Barbie dolls display. I told her we had to go, but she just looked stubbornly at me. "I want one." "No, let's go." What happened next is something I'll never forget. Her eyes filled with rage as she unleashed a scream that was shrill enough to wake up the dead. She knocked over the entire rack of Barbies and then she threw herself on the floor and started kicking and crying. Horrified, I apologized to the staff and quickly bought a doll. I couldn't get out of there faster. When we finally got home, she took one look at the Barbie and tossed it aside. "Nah, it's really ugly." And she skipped off to her room happily. Just then, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to see it was Miss Janice. The minute I saw her, I hugged her and started crying. "I can't do this. I can't be my mom's mom." I told her I wanted to sell Mom. I would just post it online, "Mom for sale." Miss Janice just laughed and hugged me tight. When I felt better, she said she'd found me a part-time job at the local library. I was so grateful to her. But soon enough, I discovered the worst thing about being an adult: paying bills every month. How was I going to pay for everything being a library assistant? That evening, I stopped at an ATM and withdrew the last $100 I had. I almost threw away the receipt without looking, when suddenly, I froze. I stared at my account balance. $13 billion. I looked around, half expecting a camera crew to pop up behind me and tell me this was a big fat joke. I ran back home and logged onto my computer to check again. Someone had anonymously sent me $13 billion. When Miss Janice came to visit me, I told her about the money. I asked her if I should tell the bank because it was clearly a mistake, right? No one sends someone $13 billion by mistake, love. Seems like you've got a mystery guardian angel. It's yours to enjoy. And enjoy it I did. The first thing I did was hire a chef, a maid, and a nanny for Mom. I'd now come home from school to a clean mom, folded laundry, a clean house, and fancy food on the table. I started my SAT classes and college applications again. I could go to any university now and take Mom and the nanny with me. One day, I walked into the lounge to find Mom watching Frozen for the millionth time. When she saw me, she ran over to me excitedly. I want to be Princess Elsa on my birthday. Look, I'll show you these birthday parties on YouTube. Looking at my mom's eager face, I just couldn't refuse. I hugged her and said she could have anything she wanted. I threw her a grand birthday party and invited the whole neighborhood. Mom made a special entrance in an actual carriage. She almost tripped on her flowing blue dress as she stepped out. I could see all our neighbors staring and snickering. Sometime later, I went to the bouncy castle to look for Mom and saw her in a corner crying, while the other kids shouted, "What are you doing here, you weirdo? You're a grown-up. You look so stupid and ugly." I just wanted to be Princess Elsa. I climbed onto the bouncy castle and snatched the tiara from the mean girl. No one talks to my mom like that. Come, Mom. We are going to cut the cake now. As Mom excitedly blew the candles, I made a silent wish too. Please, let Mom be normal again. When everyone had left, Miss Janice turned to me, smiling. You did a good thing for your mom. She looked really happy. You should sometimes be a kid and have fun too. She was right. When the weekend came around and my classmates invited me to a party, I didn't turn them down. Just as I was ready to head out, I found out that my babysitter had bailed on me. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to take Mom with me. My mom threw a tantrum the moment I arrived and wanted to go home. Everyone was staring and laughing at us. I grabbed my mom by the shoulders and yelled at her to shut up. She looked at me with tears in her eyes, and then she burst out crying. I felt sorry immediately and hugged her, and we went home. I had enough money to move out and settle down in another town where I could attend college. Miss Janice was sad that I was leaving. I bought a mansion that was especially made for toddlers and included all kinds of games. On my first day at college, Mom cried so hard and didn't want me to leave her with the nannies and the servants. But I put my hands around her face and kissed her forehead. You will be just fine, Mom. But I was wrong. 2 hours later, I got a phone call and knew that Mom had hit her head again. She was in a coma for 2 days. The doctor said that part of my mom's brain still thought she was an adult. That's why she was taking these risks, because she thought she was big enough. I just realized that leaving for college was still a bit too early. I spent my time at home and started writing. Writing was my only escape. I created my own blog, and it seems like people liked my stories. I was inspired by Agatha Christie's novels and wrote many detective stories. People were calling me the modern version of Agatha Christie. They believed my stories were too addictive, and I couldn't be happier. Until one day, I entered my mom's room and found her reading something, which didn't look like the children's storybooks I'd given her to read. What are you reading? Show me. She slowly pulled out the book from her lap. You're reading Shakespeare's sonnets? I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't. When did you learn to read this? I started before we moved out. Shakespeare is my favorite poet, and Agatha Christie is my favorite author. Was my mom a genius kid now? I knew how it felt to be a genius with neglected parents, and I just wanted to support Mom and help her improve her talent. But I didn't only want to help Mom. I thought all the kids around the world should have a chance too. I volunteered to build huge libraries around the world for gifted and all kinds of kids. I understood that education and science are more important than money. I had billions, but they couldn't bring me happiness. I have everything I love in books. And my mom? She was and still is my #1 fan. Also, I found out that my mystery benefactor was a rich man who'd caused Mom's accident. He felt so bad that he'd looked us up and sent me the billions. I'm really thankful for that man. Not for hitting my mom, of course, but for giving me this great opportunity to make a little change in this world.